Hey everybody, KC here. So I'm in Northern California because I am participating in the Retail Tomorrow meeting that is being sponsored by the California Grocers Association Board of Directors. And we're up here doing some really interesting things in a Retail Tomorrow immersion. And I'll be sharing more of that with you in coming days. Right now I'm at the Port of Oakland. We got a really interesting tour of the Port of Oakland as we talk about supply chain issues. And I had a chance afterwards to moderate a panel discussion with three really interesting people giving different perspectives on supply chain. First up, there was a guy named Mark Sharbo with Macmillan Doolittle. And he was talking a lot about the fact that one of the things that the industry really has to do is focus more on being nimble and being more flexible. You know, we learned a lot about the need for flexibility during the early days of the pandemic. And the question is the industry going back to old habits, or is it really engineering more flexible systems going forward? I think the general consensus is the industry is trying, but not doing as good a job as it should. We also had a guy named Mike Neal, and Mike is the founder and CEO of Decision Next. And what they do is they're able to forecast commodity prices for fresh items in such a way that allows retailers and suppliers to buy more effectively and more efficiently. And it's really, and that's really important in terms of the supply chain. And finally, we had Susie Montford, formerly of Kroger, formerly of PCC, and now with a company called Focal Systems. And basically what Susie's company does is they are working on shelf cameras that are constantly taking pictures, so being able to tell people whether there's more in stocks, where they're out of stock, and allow retailers to address that more efficiently. It's clearly a supply chain issue. But I think it's fair to say that one of the things we all talked about was the need for these systems to all be more consumer focused, to be more targeted on what consumers need and look at the supply chain from their point of view. You know, it was also kind of interesting. We learned a lot. One of the things we learned about the Oakland system, the Port of Oakland system, is how little the automation is used. Basically, they said in terms of automation, it's almost zero. They made the point that it would cost $2 billion to automate the Port of Oakland system. And it would be not only impossibly expensive, but you'd have to shut down pieces of it to do that, which would throw the whole system into disarray. The interesting thing is that's the case with pretty much every port in the U.S., but not so in Asia and not so in Northern Europe, where those systems are largely automated. The question I have, and I really don't have the answer to it that rings right to me, is that going to, over the long term, put U.S. supply chains at a disadvantage if there's greater automation in other places? But listen, you know, if there was one agreement that came out of the conversation, it's the need for, and this is a word that's been used a lot in the industry, greater collaboration. But especially for smaller retailers, is there an opportunity here to share assets, to share knowledge, to share data in such a way that will make the industry more efficient, more effective, and more consumer focused? And this is one of the things that Susie talked about, you know, that the fact that there are those kinds of initiatives that are being developed at this time, well, and all I can say is, you know, I hope so, because that's going to be the thing that is going to help define the long-term viability of retail tomorrow. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning, and as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.